Small and medium-sized enterprises are excited about China, but they have to ask themselves some very interesting questions. Do they have to go to China in order to survive? Do they have to go to China because that is where the future is? Do they have to go to China in order to achieve a cost advantage that they otherwise could never achieve? Or could they stay outside?
Certainly China is a challenge. It's not for the faint-hearted.
Part of the huge excitement of China also, there is a larger risk element there.
You've got the cultural shock, you've got the different business environments, you have got the bureaucracy of the government and the red tape that makes the UK look normal.
The idea of this is a pot of gold that you can just dive into and come up successful, that's not the case. We've been here 7 years and yes, we're profitable. But it takes time and it takes long-term building.
The process of buying a machine tool, the process of putting material on it and producing the part, I hope I don't live to regret these words, but isn't that difficult? It's everything that surrounds it, the regulation, the employment, the people, the skills, those are all the things which are slightly more complicated.
But yeah, it's a great business environment. It's fast moving, every day is different, and so it's always exciting and challenging.
Essentially, if you're going to set up any business in China, the first decision you need to make is, will you be a joint venture or a wholly owned foreign enterprise?
I think your partnerships matter tremendously, particularly in China. Lots of companies have had mixed beginnings because they've had partner selection problems.
I'm not saying you should or you shouldn't have a partner. A, what's your expertise? B, what do you need to know that you don't already know, and can you find that out yourself? And C, if you need a partner, what does that partner bring to the party and what do you bring to the party?
I say it's horses for courses. If you're going into an industry where there is a strong local competitor, you may well be better doing a joint venture with the local competitor rather than going head to head against them. The local Chinese catch up very, very quickly and basically made the competition really, really tough.
If you're doing a straightforward processing operation in China, I would do that wholly owned. If you need particular input from Chinese partners such as technology or R&D, where you need their ongoing interest, then you might want to lock them in a joint venture basis.
Definitely a wholly owned is a lot easier to run because you don't need to worry about a Chinese partner. But having said that, the right Chinese partner can be very useful. The problem is it's difficult to know that before you start.
So I would do the due diligence, and I think what happens a lot of times is people get to be too anxious to come into the market and get started without doing the due diligence.
So you can write down a list of key criteria you're looking for, and you can make a judgment on each of those criteria for the range of partners that you find. You may find the most ideal. And then at that point you probably want to make a short list of 3 or 4, go and meet them, understand where they're coming from, do you like them, do you get on with them, do they have similar values to you? And at that point then it's worth investing time in relationships, and maybe with 2 or 3 on a final shortlist. And then I would always keep 2 or 3 negotiation partners to keep a bit of tension in the negotiations, because it means that you're going to be under less pressure from any potential partner. That's one of the first things. And when you're choosing a partner, you want to look at the location, you want to look at the quality of their management, you want to look at their R&D capability, if that's important to you, their processes, their compliance with tax regulations, environmental law, all those sort of things. And then they may not be perfect, and they probably won't be perfect. And it may be a case where the less perfect one is a more suitable partner. Why? Because you feel more comfortable with them, you feel you can influence them, you can change them.
You can't come into China and fly in and say, okay, I'm arriving Monday afternoon, leaving Wednesday afternoon, and this is my list of 10 points, and I expect them all to be dealt with by Wednesday evening.
The most important advice I probably will offer to companies thinking of opening an office or business in China is to really to come to stay here, because I think the client, in one hand, they want to be close with you. The other is that I think you need to be here to have your eye and ear to see what's happening.
The Chinese are very people related, but they take a long time to feel confident about you and feel that they trust you. And I always advise Western companies to do the same, or Western individuals who are operating in China. But invest time in it. Get to know your interlocutors. Invite them to your home country, visit your manufacturing sites, or do the same in China, and spend time in China. And I think very often Western companies come in, send their managers, and they're in for a night and then they're out. They don't take in much of the local culture. They don't spend much time outside meetings, which are sort of obviously quite intensive with their partners.
And also, I think it's quite important to have the vision to develop a local force here, and rather than just use a very small office, have a secretary to receive phone call. I think you need to develop in the long run, develop business with someone locally who you can trust, who can look after for you.
I'm sure you've read or seen elsewhere there's cultural nuances in negotiating, and the process can be very different. It can be done over dinner at 10 o'clock at night, it can be done over a beer, which is very pleasant, and time is a different factor.
On an average investment that we are involved in, you've got 10, 12, 15 meetings before you start to feel comfortable. And you see how they react to given circumstances. And that alerts you to certain things, how they might behave in the future.
It's quite important to pick the right project, the right client to work with, particularly if you're starting business here. And unless you are here to able to see and hear, it's very difficult to make that kind of judgment.
But also you can secure an element of protection for yourself. I always encourage people to make contact with the local government, the local foreign investment administration, and that way that you have a direct line to them outside of your relationship with the partner.
You can't just look at the broad data and say, wow, 1.3 billion population in China, it must be right for us. Not necessarily so, and therefore city by city are different cases.
Economically active is the top 40 odd cities, which has about 350 million population.
It is very wise to go to the centres. In the centres, the support systems are best, the accessibility is best, the enforcement of rules and regulations is best.
In Shanghai, really all I can speak about from my own experience in Shanghai, the framework for doing business is generally very good. The government here have created an environment very conducive to foreign companies, foreign individuals coming in, investing money, trading and making a profit.
The moment you move 50 or 100 kilometers out of Shanghai or out of Beijing or out of Guangzhou, you are 10, 20, 30 years behind in development.
And if you look at China today in the eastern seaboard area, often the cost advantage isn't nearly as good as it was. However, the Chinese government's Go West policy has been quite successful in attracting big multinationals to look at cities like Chengdu, Chongqing, Xi'an.
People immediately associate China with labour cost savings, but we see lots of other benefits for organisations there. There's a great infrastructure developing. There's a really good education system providing some first-class graduates. So we see there's lots of benefits, but obviously it's a huge market. So there's some great market potential depending on the business that you're involved in.